Now, just to go back to the Gerbrandt Grobler story, because obviously it continues to roll on. It's a full week of significant questions being raised about how Munster and by extension Irish Rugby have found themselves in the situation they find themselves in at the moment. Really interesting columns this morning from Donal Lenihan and Gordon Darcy. Gordon Darcy, obviously an absolute legend of the game from a Leinster and Ireland perspective, and Donal Lenihan is one of the most qualified people in Irish rugby to comment on this. He makes the case that this is an issue entirely of Munster's own making and that they need to be unbelievably careful about the message they're sending out to the academy players within the Munster Centre of Excellence. A brilliant piece in the Examiner which really evocatively points out the journey that Munster players go on before they actually become the elite players, and the implication is that you can take a shortcut and reach the top floor of Munster rugby, literally and metaphorically. So that's a brilliant piece that you should read today. And then also some of the stuff that Gordon Darcy, the points that he makes about systemic doping, I don't necessarily agree that we can believe that that's not an issue. I just don't think that we can be complacent about that stuff, but the rest of the stuff is absolutely bang on the money, and it's really interesting to see somebody from within the rugby bubble who has just come out of it going, actually, you know what, this is really, really dangerous for the message that it sends out. So after a week, what are the questions that remain to be answered by Munster and by the IRFU? These are the specific questions that we want Munster to answer. Have a look at this. Philip Brown in the IRFU's anti-doping report in 2015-2016, very clearly, the very first line of the report says, Irish rugby has a zero tolerance towards cheating in rugby. That is now not the case. When did Munster's zero tolerance on drugs policy end? How does having a confessed drugs cheat on your team tally with a zero tolerance policy? Who in the IRFU had the final sign-off on the decision to offer Gerbrandt Grobler a contract, and was due diligence done on Grobler's drug taking? Was the decision to offer him a contract made in the full knowledge that he had used an anabolic steroid? What is the message to the Munster Academy players about drug use when there is somebody who used drugs in the first team squad, and do you accept that there are mixed messages there? And finally, the standing of Munster in World Rugby is something that has to be protected. Absolutely has to be protected. Do you accept that that standing has been damaged and that the credibility on the issue of anti-doping is damaged as a result of what's happened this week? Questions, similar questions for the IRFU. Again, the IRFU has a zero tolerance policy to cheating within rugby. When did that zero tolerance policy end and why? How does signing a convicted drugs cheat tally with the zero tolerance policy? Who in the IRFU had the final sign-off on the decision to offer Grobler a contract? Did that person do due diligence? And if they did, how did they come to the decision to sign him? And specifically, does David Nucifora run these decisions past the CEO or the board of the IRFU? And then, was the decision to offer him a contract made in the full knowledge that Grobler had used an anabolic steroid? There's a couple more questions that we need to ask the IRFU. The science shows and continues to show that the benefits from drug use can last years, which would implicate, or at least suggest, that there's a possibility that Gerbrandt Grobler could still be reaping the benefits of his cheating. Do you accept that science? And if you do, why are you having somebody who has the potential to be benefiting from a positive drugs test in 2015 playing for us in 2018? Why not just pay up the contract and remove the possibility of him ever representing Irish rugby in a competitive game? Do the IRFU accept that this decision has damaged the anti-doping credentials of the organisation? When they claim to have a zero tolerance policy, you have somebody who has cheated on your books, in your employ, and representing you. And finally, again, for the IRFU, what message does this send to the academy players in the Irish system when a doper is hired for a significant role in the Irish system? These are the questions that should have been answered last week. These are not questions for employees of the organisation who are players whose job it is to go out and win games. This is for the executive branch of Munster, and it's for the executive branch of the IRFU to answer at this point. This is not an issue for Conor Murray or Peter O'Mahony or even for Johan van Graan, the Munster head coach. They are employees, they are doing their jobs, and they're looking at an asset that they have and a teammate that they have, and they go, okay, this is our team spirit and this is our team unity, and what do we do here? So they're in an unbelievably difficult situation, not of their making. This is a situation of the making of the IRFU and Munster Rugby and Gerbrandt Grobler. He has to accept responsibility for his part in this as well. So the whole notion that, oh, you know, you've got to be sorry for this guy because he didn't know this was going to be a storm. Well, tough. You took the drugs, you got caught, and you have not told us why you took those drugs. You've got a concocted story about not necessarily thinking you're going to make it, but here you are 2 years down the line, not having played rugby for 2 years, and suddenly you're able to get a place in one of the best teams in world rugby. Who gave you the drugs? How much did they cost? How did you administer them? Who else do you think was actually taking drugs? How many of your teammates? What level of conversation was there about that? Blow the whistle on that, Gerbrandt, and maybe we can get on board with you. But for now, they're the outstanding questions.